Hey, you. You're finally awake.
G'day Smut Squad and welcome back to the channel. We're heading to the Super Nintendo where we're looking at some of the most difficult games ever made for the console. Before we go any further, if you think I deserve it, please remember to hit that like, hype and subscribe button, as well as listen to the weekly podcast and join our free Discord. Now with these lists, it's always good to put a little caveat on there. There are going to be ones that you all think, where the hell are they, or I don't agree with that, and that's fine, because there are a lot of hard games that I've not even played yet. So if your game isn't in here, don't worry, don't panic, just let me know in the comments below to say, Danny, you've not played those ones, these are actually the top 5 hardest games on the Super Nintendo, and your list is absolutely crap. Now, I'm not going to give a 1 to 7, I'm just going to give 7 games which I think are balls hard, but as always, I want to hear from you, because your comments make me smile, make them stupid, make me laugh. That's exactly what we're here for with the Smut Squad. Right, let's get into it, shall we? Some of the hardest games for the Super Nintendo. Contra III, The Alien Wars. Yes, we expected Contra III to be in here, and who says it's difficult? I say it's difficult. Because this game utilises the one hit and you're dead mechanic. Yes, if a bullet even grazes your penis, you're dead and you lose a life, which shocked me about how quickly I was dying when I first played this for the first time with my friend Nick. We were both fainting away, we're like, what is going on here? Because neither of us had played Contra, and yes, we got our arse handed to us. This game also has infinite spawn logic, so if you're trying to deal with a threat, yes, they're going to keep coming from you from all angles, so you just need to keep moving the whole time. Don't stop, don't even look back. Has your friend died? Don't worry, leave him, he's gone. You know, I'd rather have that than more enemies come after me. Now, the Mode 7 stages weren't that good. Look, we can fight on this all day long. I didn't like them. I felt it was quite disorientating, rotating the controls around that 360 way. I didn't like it. I know you wanted to show off the SNES hardware, but I didn't like it, okay? It was poo. And I know there are only 2 of those levels, but I'd rather just have normal, typical Contra levels, thank you very much. And when you're playing the standard Contra 3 levels, all of a sudden you beat one massive boss, and then all of a sudden another one pops up. You're like, oh, for God's sake, can't I just have a break? No, this game doesn't like the idea of a break. It's like, no, we're going to absolutely attack you from both ends, and you're going to say thank you for the privilege. And whilst the game does allow you to have 2 power-ups, if your penis is slightly grazed by a stray bullet, it means you lose those power-ups. So if you're facing a boss battle and this happens to you, you're in trouble because all you've got is a little pea shooter. And that's rubbish. Nobody likes that. And even if you decide, oh yeah, I need the Konami code to get 30 lives, it doesn't really matter, because you're going to lose them very quickly. I know some of you are going to be going, well, I can do it on 1 life. Well, good for you. Well done. I don't like you for that. It's mean. Castlevania Dracula X, or as it's also known as Castlevania Vampire's Kiss. I actually saw this in a CEX. I saw a copy of Vampire's Kiss, because it must be the same in Australia as well, and I was like, ooh, that's cool. And I looked at it and went, yeah, I'm not buying that. I looked at the wife and look at that, that's really cool. And she just looked at me and went, you're an idiot. You're not buying it. I said, well, no, I'm not buying it. It's going to cost a fortune, but still, look, that's really cool. Yeah, she hates gaming. It's one of those things. Now, this game is based on the legendary PC Engine title Rondo of Blood, and I absolutely love Rondo of Blood. I think it's one of the best Castlevania games. But this is not the Super Castlevania 4 that you played earlier on the Super Nintendo, because now this is basically old school Castlevania where your whip only goes in certain directions. And they said it is a basically loose version of Rondo of Blood. And when I played this, I had no problems getting to the end. Why? Because I'd been playing Rondo of Blood and I was on a Castlevania binge, and because I knew Rondo of Blood like the back of my hand, I had no problem. It was fine. I knew Richter Belmont, I knew his moves he could do, and I was like, ooh, I recognise some of the music, ooh, I know some of the placements, so I had no problem. But you have to remember, this is Castlevania, and the Castlevania knockback is in here, and it is very aggressive here. So when Richter flies back, it's like someone's just grabbed him and threw him across a room, because you're no doubt going to fly into a pit. You also have to make some blind jumps, which is a bit of a pain, and there's also Medusa Head Gauntlets. The main reason why I put this game on this list isn't because essentially the game itself. No, I said I had no problems with this because I was already a master. It was that final boss fight against Dracula, because that is not the final boss fight in Rondo of Blood, it's completely different for Dracula X, and I absolutely hated it. Like, the arena, you think it's going to be a flat 4. No, you fight him on a series of small, isolated pillars over a bottomless pit, which sucks, because if you fall, you're dead, and that's the end of it. If you get hit, you're going to get the knockback and fall down. All I basically did for this whole battle was use the axe, and get into a position where I know he's not going to hit me, and then just kept firing with the axe. That is the only way I was able to do it. It was a stupid way of doing it. I don't like just blindly throwing axes everywhere, but that's how I won. I don't know if anyone had a better strategy of doing it, let me know, but axes were the only thing I could do to win this battle. Apart from that, it's a good game-ish, although play Rondo of Blood, much better. Super Ghouls and Ghosts. Yes, let's be honest, this is probably the hardest game on the Super Nintendo. Like, I'm not gonna lie, this would have been number 1 for me, and I'm sure for a lot of other people it would have been their number 1 as well. But let's look at why Sir Arthur's Adventure is so notoriously brutal. Now, this game did have the double jump, which sounds like a cool thing, but it's actually a bit of a trap, because once you jump, your trajectory is locked, and you can't drift left or right like if you're playing Mario, Mega Man, Sonic. But you do have the ability to use a second jump. The problem is, the same rules apply. So if you use a second jump, you're locked again into that fixed arc, and if an enemy spawns right where you're landing, you're absolutely bamfucked. And the whole thing with this game is that there are enemies coming at you in every single direction. Don't clip that, that just sounds rude. But you have to tackle it like a puzzle game. That's the best way of doing it. Figure out how you get through each section and then just take it as you can. You do get 2 hits though, as Arthur does begin in the steel armor. After the first hit, you lose your armor and reduce your underwear. The second hit, you die. And there's no invincibility frames long enough to save you get caught in a cluster of enemies. And the knockback is also massive, so getting hit usually sends Arthur flying backwards, often into a pit of a different enemy. They obviously saw Castlevania and went, ooh, this sounds fun, let's do this. But the main thing, apart from fighting every enemy, which is ridiculous and it's like a big puzzle game that you have to finish and you only get 2 hits unless you get the better armor, is once you've finished all 7 hellish stages and defeat the boss, the game informs you can't actually win without the Goddess Bracelet. So basically the game decides, yeah, we're going to send you back to level 1, and you got to play the game again on the higher difficulty while carrying the bracelet, which is a mediocre weapon, to actually reach the final boss and see the ending. Which we all know this now, we all are very aware of this happening, but can you imagine if you were doing it as a kid? You think, yeah, finished it, and they're like, nah, do it again, on harder. Like, what the fuck? What? Like, don't get me wrong, as a game, it's fantastic in the sense of get good and you get your money's worth out of it. Try and do it for the podcast though, it's impossible. I'm only on level 3 at the moment and I'm absolutely struggling. We're trying to do this legitimately without save states. I do think I'm going to have to rely on save states if I want to finish it quickly, as I said, for the podcast. Although I know many of you are shouting at me and going, no, you're not doing it properly unless you actually don't use save states. Well, I'm playing video games how I want to play, alright? And if you want me to produce 3 videos a week and a podcast, this is how I'm doing it. One of those things, unfortunately. Otherwise, you're just going to get a Battletoads episode where I don't get past the hover bikes, and that's the only thing we do in the video. Because that's what happened with the Battletoads episode, but we're making that a thing. Either way, I actually want to finish Super Ghouls and Ghosts, and I'll try and do it 2 times, but I know I'm going to fail miserably. Jurassic Park. Now, I was told to do this for the podcast, and there has been an episode of it, because I was asked by one of my friends to basically, yeah, you need to finish this game, it's really good, and it's a really good ending. So I went, okay, I'll give this a go. Now, the game can take you to being 3 to 5 hours, but even that's if you know what you're doing. And I didn't know what I was doing, so I had to have a guide. So I imagine it took a lot longer than 5 hours. I think it did, I think it was like 7 hours. But the problem is, you had no save system, and no password system. I did have save states, I'll admit I did. So it's a big requirement to beat this game in 3 to 5 hours in one sitting. This is one of those times in gaming where you have to leave the Super Nintendo or your Mega Drive, although it wasn't on the Mega Drive. We know the strategy, we all did it when we were kids, but you have to leave it on overnight. Just cover the light up so your parents can't see it. That's what I used to do. I used to hide on my Mega Drive. I used to hide something just over the power button so my mum didn't know it was on, turn the TV off because she was that silly when it comes to gaming. I was like, oh no, I just didn't leave the console on all night. I can't think what game I was doing it for from the Mega Drive, but there must have been something because I definitely did it. The thing is though, I had absolutely no idea where I was going when I was playing this. You basically have to collect 18 dinosaur eggs scattered across the island, but there's no map to basically say where you've been or what the eggs might be. Thank God for the internet, because it actually said, oh yeah, this is the maps, this is where the eggs may be. And you get these computer terminals and motion sensors in the game where you go to them and they basically say, oh yeah, you've done this. What? Like, we've rebooted the computer system. Where? Where have you done that? And as I'm walking around the whole time, I'm getting all the kids saying, oh, watch out for these dinosaurs, as they're literally stamping on my arse. It's like, oh, thanks, dickhead. Then you've also got the fact that velociraptors are flying around everywhere. They do loads of damage to me. They keep respawning. I killed so many velociraptors, I swear to God, I probably wiped them off the planet once again. Then there's the T-Rex, which cannot be killed, and it's basically wants to come on, and if it catches you, it's instant death. Thanks for that. Really appreciated it. And then you go and do the first-person modes, which is like, okay, cool, but can you make it not so choppy? Like, it's the lowest frame rate I've ever seen in a Super Nintendo game. And you're basically turning, oh, I could use this like in wet cement. What a boring cliche that is. But it literally are, you're like, eh. And if anyone's seen the Super Mario Galaxy movie, there's a scene in it where you're like, eh. You'll know exactly what I mean. And that's how it feels when you're turning around. And the bloody Velociraptor's coming at you. It's like, oh, they're there. And I'm dead. Thanks. Love that for me. And then, by the way, I'm going to spoil this for you. I did finish the game, and Buddy says, you escaped, well done, or something like that. I was like, what? What? This is the shittest ending I've ever seen. Like, seriously, it is one of the worst endings I've ever seen in a video game. So when it came to doing the podcast episode, I literally called my friend to see you next Tuesday. I was livid. He was having a time of his life. I was furious. All that work just to get that. Fantastic. Literally, I may as well have my dick cut off and that would have been more fun. Zombies ate my neighbours. Now again, some people are going to look at this and go, really? Do you think this is that quite difficult? Yes, I do. So you basically start off with 10 neighbours because you're now in the zombie apocalypse and you've got to try and save them. And there are two ways to lose this game. Either you lose all your health, which kind of makes sense, or the 10 neighbours die. So once a neighbour dies, they're attacked by an enemy, they're gone from the rest of the game. And once that last one goes, that is it. Game over. You can keep playing the game and get bonuses and actually get another neighbour back to you, so you can go from 1 to 2. But I felt it was a bit of a war on attrition. I was like, just try and get as many as you can. So some levels were only a few seconds long because I'd literally managed to get to the neighbour, save them, and that is it. I know if the game wanted me to see the rest of all the artwork and everything it's done, all the hard work the developers did laying out the level, nope, I don't care, I'm through. Now, I've never actually even finished this game because it's a marathon. There are 55 stages in this game, and there is a password system you could use to go every 2 levels. The problem is, if you use a password to jump to level 20, you do start with minimal weapons and ammo. So it is quite difficult to get that, because you need really all the extra weapons to fight all the different types of monsters. Because, yeah, you do need them, because there are so many, and they all have different weaknesses that you need to face. I only got to the spider boss, I don't know which level that was, but that was the furthest I've ever come, because I didn't have any idea how I was going to beat that big-ass spider. Someone's going to put in the comments, that's exactly how you do it, fine. The neighbours don't really help themselves, as they just stand there, so even if a zombie's walking towards them, they're not going to save themselves, they're just going to die. And there's one couple, if you don't basically save them by a certain time, they'll change into monsters. Fantastic, that's exactly what I need. I also do need to mention that some of the bosses suck. The big baby sucks, and the bloody chainsaw people suck. Scared the crap out of me as a kid, still scare the crap out of me now, and now only realising as an adult I need to use a Bobo doll, and that's what distracts them. Oh my god, I hate the chainsaw people, guys. They bring literal dread and fear into my heart. It's horrible. I know you can play this 2 players. I barely played it as a 2-player mission, but I do want to do this one day, and I think I need to do it as a 2-player game. It should also be mentioned, this game is kind of like a roguelike. There are bits where you can basically find ammo, whether it's for a cupboard or a drop. The problem is, it's completely random. So you might get a mystery potion, or you might get an enemy attack you, or you might get some pistol ammo. Handy, but makes the run even harder if you don't get exactly what you need. And playing it 2-player mode, while fun, means your resources, you have to manage them between you. So you have to work out, okay, do you want to pick that up? Do I want to pick that up? And if not so, you need to start talking together about who's got which items, and the item scrolling system is not exactly the best and really should be a pause system, because you're trying to get all your magic, I don't know, you're trying to get your, let's work out, your weed whacker, and all of a sudden you're on your cans. No, I need the weed whacker right now. Now. I do love this game though, it is one of my favourite games on the Super Nintendo, but my god, it's hard as balls. Super Star Wars. Now, a lot of you are probably thinking, why not just include the whole trilogy? Well, because I've not played them yet. I've only played the first one yet, because I was doing it for the podcast. And yes, this is a very, very, very hard game. Now, I know you can play as Luke Skywalker, Han Solo, and Chewbacca, but I only wanted to play as Luke Skywalker because I just wanted a goddamn lightsaber, and he doesn't even get that till halfway through the game, which is really annoying because it's so cool to have a lightsaber. The problem is I found with this was that there were infinite respawns everywhere. No matter where I went, enemies just kept appearing the moment they leave the screen. It's like, oh thanks, they're back again for even more things. Like, I'm getting attacked left, right, centre, and all Luke Skywalker can do is just look left, look right, and look absolutely gormless at the screen like he doesn't know what he's doing. Like, I'm not even going to complain about the Mode 7 vehicle stages. I felt they were really easy. Disorientating, but actually quite easy. Although the final trench run is absolutely impossible, like trying to dodge all the TIE fighters while you're navigating that narrow trench walls, and then you have to fire the bullet at the exact moment. Oh my god. Like, there was one level in particular which absolutely was killing me, and that's when you're basically jumping into the big machine, and there's basically like treadmills, and there's projectile things flying at you left, right, center. Oh my god. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I did use save states for this because there was no way I was finishing this normally because the console would have been thrown out the window. I do like the game in the sense that it looks very good. It's a challenging game, obviously, because I couldn't finish it without save states. I do like the digitalized John Williams score. I do like the fact you get 3 characters, although I didn't use them. Maybe Han Solo and Chewbacca could have been handy for certain things. But I like the fact you get to use the X-Wing at the end, which is really cool as well. Problem is, it's just hard as balls. God knows what the further difficulties could do. I was just happy to finish the game on basic. And finally, Super Punch-Out. Now, I know a lot of you are going to say, oh, they shouldn't be on this list because the original game on the NES is much harder. Well, fine. You can have that opinion, but this is a Super Nintendo list of what games I think are balls hard. And whilst people may say, yes, this game is technically easier than Mike Tyson's one on the NES, fine, it's still really hard, and I absolutely love this game. I love the game for its animation, I love the game for its colour palette. It feels like a 90s anime, it's awesome. And let's be honest, this game is not a sports game, it's a rhythm-based game, where you learn what the enemy does and then you respond in kind, although essentially Dark Souls can be the same thing, because you learn what the enemy does and then you react in kind. The only thing I'll say is when we get to the final bosses, it's an absolute ballbuster. Like, if you got to the final boss, or I should say final bosses of Rick and Nick Bruiser, oh my god. Everyone else in the game is doable. Like, it's cool. Nick and Rick Bruiser are insanely difficult. I know people are going to think, well, actually, it's not as hard as Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson is the ultimate champion with Punch-Out. Fine, I don't care. Alright? These two are still ridiculous. I wouldn't invite them round for a drink. I wouldn't have them for Christmas dinner, because I swear to God they'll beat you trying to get the legs off the turkey. Don't know why we went there, but we did. I still love this game. I love everything about it. But my god, do these two want to take me to some form of roast where I somehow am in the middle. Think of that what you will. And that's it. 7 games which I think are incredibly difficult for the Super Nintendo. As always, give me your top 5, I want to hear them. And if you think I'm a little bitch, although I probably am. Until then, I'll see you all soon. My name's been Danny. Take care of yourself. Bye-bye.